All right, good morning. We're going to have some more doorbells going as folks start joining the meeting, but I wanted to go ahead and get started. Thank you all for joining us today for Generations United Shared Site Learning Network. I'm Sherry Steinig, Special Projects Director with Generations United, and I'm really pleased to see so many new and familiar names on the group today. If you could just take 1 second, it looks like everyone's names are their names, but just to make sure that the name on your Zoom is the name that you would want to be called, because we are going to do I'll have a couple seconds for minutes for introduction. So we'll make sure that when Nancy's calling on you, she sees a name to call on you for. We are recording these sessions, and I have been sharing links to these recordings in my emails to network members. So we'll send this out to everyone, and you'll have, as well as the folks who are unable to make it today. If folks, as they're joining, can just make sure to keep themselves on mute so we have as few background interruptions as possible. That would be really helpful. Also just wanted to share that if you haven't been receiving emails from me and you're new to this, we do have a shared site learning network. I do manage an email list. So please feel free, and I'll drop it in chat. My email address, if you want to let us know, I'll add you. I know we have some new folks today, so I'm happy to add you to that list so you will get email and communications from us. There is no obligations by joining the network. There's no cost associated. You don't have to attend a certain number of meetings or anything like that. It's really just an opportunity to be in the loop around intergenerational shared sites and the work that we're doing. This is only the third official meeting of our network, and really the goal of this group is to share the latest information and resources in the field, facilitate peer learning and connections, grow the community of practitioners, and hopefully expand the number of shared sites that are out there both in the US and around the world. We recognize that your time is really valuable, and we want this network to be useful to you. So feel free to contact me with any comments, suggestions, ideas that you have. We'll also be sending out after this meeting kind of a short survey to gather some more information about what's useful, because right now we're really just, it's the emails I send in these meetings, but we're really looking to explore what other ways we could share information and facilitate connecting. The meeting is ending officially, and we have 90 minutes of official time, but we're going to leave the Zoom open for 15 minutes at the end. So if you wanted to talk to us or to each other, feel free to stick around, and we'd be happy to have sort of smaller conversations as well. Finally, today, I'm going to also remind folks to put themselves on mute if they're not on mute, because we can hear some background noise. Just the last thing I want to say is that today we're focusing on design, and we're really excited for our panel of presenters and the conversations that we're going to be able to have. But I will put in chat a link to the design chapter of our toolkit, our Sharing Our Space toolkit with Neda and Matt. Were very instrumental and helpful in developing. So I want to make sure that I direct folks to that so that you can check that information out, because there'll be a lot of additional information there. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to my friend Nancy to walk us through introductions.
Hi, everybody. It's great to see you. Our group is growing, which is really exciting. And as Sherry said, we've had 2 really great meetings where people were sharing their experiences and asking each other questions. So we're hoping that this will stimulate even more questions and more learnings. So we have a lot of people, but it's a network. So we don't want to not have you introduce each other. So I'm going to ask you really, like, for 3 seconds, I'm going to model it. I'm Nancy Hankins, Senior Fellow at Generations United. So since everyone's screen is different, I think I'll just go across the screen. Some of you don't have names on there, though. All right, Sherry went. Danica, why don't you go next? Just your name and maybe where you're from, where it is. I'm in Philadelphia. Okay, Danica.
Everybody, I'm Tanika Dariani. I'm Special Projects Coordinator at Generations United. So happy to be here today. And I am based at GU's headquarters in Washington, D.C., the D.C. area.
Thank you, Danica. Matt.
Hi, I'm Matt Kaplan from Penn State University. And I'm really glad to be part of this network and to be making one of these meetings. Thank you so much.
Kenna. I'm sorry if I don't pronounce your names right. Hopefully it's
Oh,
Kenna.
that's correct. My name is Kenna. I'm an independent living intern with Vincentian Collaborative System, which is in Pittsburgh, PA, and I'm also an intern with Matt here in State College.
Great. Neda.
Good morning. My name is, or good morning for
Well,
me.
Neda's picture is
Greetings
there, but
to-
I don't know if she's there. Oh, there you are. There you are, Neda. Hi, Neda.
Hi.
Okay.
So my name is Neda Norouzi. I'm a professor in architecture at the University of Texas at San Antonio.
Perfect.
And designing IG centers.
Very, very good. And we'll hear more from her later. Sue.
Hi,
Sue.
I'm Sue from Liverpool, home of the Beatles in the UK, and I'm founder of a charity over here called Ready Generations.
Great. Thank you. Bella.
Hi, Bella from Generations Working Together in Scotland, and I'm an Intergenerational Development Officer.
Great. Welcome. Let's see. Mahernash. Oh, you need to put on your mute.
Sorry, I thought I should have learned in the past 2 years. Anyway, I'm Marinosh, and I'm working with a group of educators to develop a shared space with in various kind of communities, hopefully with early childhood educators and
Great.
children and in seniors' homes. So we're in the early stages, and we just want to learn
Where are you?
what's going on. We're in Toronto, Canada.
In Toronto. Great. We
Yeah.
have our Canadians. Great. And Nika.
I am Nika Barnes, and I work with Andrew Fleck Children's Services in Ottawa, Canada.
Two Canadians.
Yeah, 2 Canadians. I'm sure there's more. Hello, everyone.
Great. Lorraine.
Hi, I'm Lorraine George. I'm the Learning and Development Officer from Generations Working Together in Scotland in the UK.
Great. We're very international. I love it. Anne.
Hi, I'm Ann Cosentino. I'm an executive strategy consultant with Vincentian Collaborative Systems in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Great. Welcome. Jody.
Hi, I'm Jody Schumann, and I'm the director of the childcare on the Ebenezer Ridges Intergenerational Shared Site Campus in Burnsville, Minnesota.
Perfect. Lori.
Say Lori. Okay. Yeah. Hi, I'm Lori Marks.
You have your sound on?
Hi, I'm Lori Marks with Link Generations, a nonprofit in the Washington, D.C. metro area. And I'm happy to say I've been working on a program with folks in Toronto. So I'm going to reach out to the Toronto people.
Perfect. Irv.
Hi, I'm Irv Katz, Senior Fellow at Generations United. I'm in the DC area, Falls Church, Virginia, to be specific.
Thank you, Irv. Kathy Gillespie.
Hi, I'm Kathy Gillespie. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Clearfield County Area Agency on Aging in Pennsylvania and the founder of the Village of Hope.
Great, thank you. Welcome. Karen.
Hi, I'm Karen Kraus in Madison, Wisconsin, founder and executive director of Hope in a Future. We're building an intergenerational neighborhood with shared site services also in place. So getting ready for a capital campaign.
Great, great. Rosa.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rosa Barnion, director of the Hearts and Minds Activity Center, and we do have an intergenerational program with seniors with Alzheimer's.
And where are you?
It's California, San Jose.
San Jose, great, thank you. Jose.
Good afternoon. My name is Jose Fernandez. I'm the Intergenerational Project Assistant with Andrew Fleck Children's Services in Ottawa, Canada.
What is it with Canada today? That's great. Allison. Got to unmute.
Funny you should say that. I'm also from Canada. I'm working at Volunteer Canada, and I'm working on an intergenerational project, and I will put my email in the chat. I would love to hear from any of you that I'm not already in touch with from Canada.
Great. Okay, let's go to Christine.
Good morning. My name is Christine Polko. I'm the Director of Independent Living and the Students and Residence Programs at Vincentian Collaborative System in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Great, thank you. Vanessa.
Hi, everybody. I'm Vanessa Sotelo, and I'm an architecture grad student from UTSA.
And I think we'll hear from you soon, I think.
Yes, we'll be presenting today.
Okay. Uh-oh. Chat, hold on a second. The chat, oh, there you are. Katie.
Yeah, I'm Katie Cardwell. I'm the Professional Development and Data Analysis Manager at United Neighborhood Houses out in New York City, attending on behalf of my supervisor, Terry Gilder, who is the Director of the Institute for Empowered Aging. United Neighborhood Houses is in New York. I'm actually coming in from Oregon.
Oh, okay. Well, welcome. Glad you're here. Josh.
Hi, my name is Josh Mondragon. I am a Masters of Architecture candidate at the University of Texas at San Antonio.
And I think we'll hear from you too. Abby.
Hi, everyone. My name's Abby Steffen. I'm a doctoral candidate in the Learning Sciences program at Clemson University in South Carolina. I don't have a shared site, but I'm very interested and excited to be learning from all of you today.
Great. I think this is going to be right. Renee.
Hello, my name is Renee Griffin. I am the Creative Aging and Partnerships Officer with Senior Services in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And we hope to break ground in May on the Intergenerational Center for Arts and Wellness.
Very exciting, Renee. Bobby.
Hi, I'm Bobby Johnson. I actually work with Kathy Gillespie, who just introduced at the Clifford County Area Agency on Aging in Central PA. I'm the Director of Mission Advancement here, and I'm on the Village of Hope team. I'm also the founder of a nonprofit called REST that supports grandparents raising grandchildren.
Great, thank you. Carolina.
Hello, I'm Carolina, and I'm a member of the Microsoft Chair in Intergenerational Studies at the University of Granada in Spain.
Yes, I'm glad we have some more Europe here now. Where am I? People are moving around now. Okay, Janet, are you next? I'm gonna say you're next. I lost Carolina, but there you are. Okay, Janet.
Okay, I'm the Senior Manager for community engagement and intergenerational efforts with Brilliant Detroit, and we're located at, in Detroit, Michigan.
Good. Thanks, Janet. Let's see. This keeps moving around. Who haven't I gotten? Renee, Bobby, Marie? I don't know why it's moving around.
Good morning. I'm Marie Hoover, and I'm the director of the Providence Intergenerational Learning Center in Seattle, Washington.
Great.
Nancy, you could also ask people to use the raise their hand function, and then they would pop up to the top if they haven't had a chance to introduce themselves yet.
I have 3-4 more, so let's see.
Oh, okay.
Megan.
I am the Community Engagement Manager at Porter Hills Village in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and we are a shared site.
Okay, Shala.
Hi, everybody, I'm Shayla Bottoms. And
Shayla, okay, sorry.
That's okay, it happens all the time. I am the Technical Assistance Specialist with the new Grand Families and Kinship Support Network of Generations United. And I'm just here to learn a little bit more about your all's collaboration today.
Great. I see Emily that I haven't called on yet.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm not on camera today, but happy to be seeing all of you. My name is Emily Patrick. I'm a senior manager at Generations United, and like the others, based out of Washington, D.C.
Kelly, did I call on you? Yep. Okay.
That's okay. I'm Kelly Filer, and I'm the president of the Regional Engagement Center in Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania. And I am awaiting word about a state grant so that I can convert a really nice inn into an intergenerational community life center.
Wow, that's great. Well, since I'm in Philadelphia, maybe I'll get a chance to see that at some point. Pat Parisi.
I'm Pat Parisi. I'm not on camera today, and I work with NOSH in Toronto, Canada. And we have Canadian intergenerational programs here.
Great. Did I call on Sandra?
No, I'm Sandra McGuire. I'm with AARP Kentucky and Age Friendly Louisville, Kentucky.
Great. Now, anyone who hasn't been called on, maybe Anne, did I call on you? Maybe I did. Okay, anyone who hasn't been called on, can you raise your hand? Is that everybody? Oh, okay.
I think you did, Nancy.
There are
Great
lots of-
job.
there are a lot of
Great
people on
job.
the Screen and they're two screens, so it's a little confusing. But we welcome all of you, and we're really excited. And as you, hope you'll enjoy today, and you'll tell other practitioners who are interested in shared sites to join us. Okay, I'm gonna send it over to you, Sherry.
Thank you. Again, we do have chat, so if questions come, we'll have time for question and answer discussion after the presentation, but feel free to put any questions or comments that you have in chat as our presentations start. So I am going to start by introducing our first round of presenters today. I'm really thrilled that Neda and two of her students are able to join to talk about some of the lessons learned and the impact of intergenerational architecture and design. Neda is an assistant professor of architecture at the University of Texas at San Antonio. Her guidance was really so valuable in creating the design section of our toolkit. And if you go there, you'll see a lot of her work there. She believes that architecture should benefit everyone, and that through human-centered design, it can be used as a tool to allow input from people in society who may otherwise be unheard. Her research and design focus on designing healthy environments for people of all ages and abilities. She is one of the few, and this is why we're so thrilled to be connected with her, one of the few experts in intergenerational design, and works as an architectural design consultant with teams who are interested in building intergenerational shared sites and spaces. Also joining her today is Josh Mondragon, who is a Master's of Architecture candidate at the University of Texas at San Antonio. He views architecture as a powerful tool that can be used to support the human experience. His interests include human-centered design and healthcare architecture. And then we're also joined by Vanessa, who is currently a Master's of Architecture student, looking forward to graduating this May. And she is working for American Company Architects and will be a licensed architect in the near future. Her interest is in historic preservation. So there may be a connection with her and the folks in Selims Grove, because I've been there and I know what that inn, I actually know that inn. Exciting time. So I'm going to turn it over to Neda. And can you share your screen, Neda? I think you had a presentation. So if you can't, okay. I made you a co-host, so I just want to make sure you have the power. Yay, there we go.
All right. So greetings, everyone. Again, thank you for being here today with us. Josh and Vanessa are going to do most of the presentation. I just want to tell everyone a little bit about what the project was about. So this was an intergenerational, or is an intergenerational community center that we're working with in the city of Tukwila, Washington. I got connected through Generations United, actually, with one of the architects who's working on the project, who had never done intergenerational center before. So we brought the project to the studio, and studio is a 6-credit class for those of you who might not be familiar with architecture classes, where students work on designing a building of some sort. And for this specific project, the students will go through what we went through in the class, and kind of where our research started, and then how we incorporated the research into the design. And we'll share with you some of our lessons learned. So with that, I'm going to turn it to Vanessa, please. Whoops, and I'm going too fast. There we go.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to share our projects with you today. Again, I'm Vanessa, and this is my rendition of the Tukwila Intergenerational Center. Next slide, please. Oh, it's not. Go. Thank you. We were given very insightful community meeting notes by McGrennan Architects. They were where they organized a list of programs that the community wanted for the center. Shown on the right are the top 12 programs tagged with the number of votes. Among these are a kitchen, multi-use outdoor space, performance spaces, gym and basketball, and a quiet calm spaces. The community expressed that they also wanted the facility to feel like home. And then to the left, these are the programs found in various IG research articles that have proven to be effective or most enjoyable for IG activities, and some overlap with the meeting notes. Next slide, please. Sorry, my cat. These are essential lessons learned from each article cited below that develop the programs further and reinforce the overall impact these could have on the IG activities. So through culinary arts, this can foster cultural inclusiveness. Storytelling can eliminate generational stereotypes and increase empathy. Science teaches children about cause and effects. Nutrition and physical wellness can help combat childhood obesity that is an investment towards the health of a future community. Engaging the neighborhood and being open to a larger network is important for the daily vibrance of the facility. Then including a resource and spaces for the facilitator's health will ensure a stronger organization. Then a nurse office was added. Is providing activities for the most vulnerable in our society, being seniors and children. A resilience pantry is another way the IG Center can provide opportunities to give back to the families during holidays or natural disasters. Computer labs will bridge the technology gap between generations. And finally, art rooms such as crafting, dance, and music will bring nonverbal expression to all to have a voice here. Next slide, please. This is the site plan of the final design. The building is 28,380 square feet. Moving clockwise from number 1, this is the formal entry. Then we have a community lawn with a bus drop-off, a landscape parking lot that buffers the northwest neighbor from the building mass. And at number 6 towards the north is a covered outdoor basketball court. Next slide, please. This is the main facade of the building. The overall design is inspired by the community wanting the facility to feel like home. And my site is within a residential area. Next slide, please. So this is the upper entry level floor plan. The red arrows are the main entrances into this level. At the formal entry towards the right, we have a lobby and welcome center highlighted in blue, and the facilitator offices in purple that has a direct access to the teen loft we see in pink. The loft overlooks the gathering space and gym on the lower level for visual connection. Moving towards the west wing of the building, there's a large cafeteria space that can also be used for silent auctions, bingo nights, or community dance hall. The IG kitchen is in the orange to the left, along with the commercial kitchen attached to a large food and pantry and resilience storage. These programs can support the community through storing and dispensing donations, become a soup kitchen, or host holiday dinners. So towards the south is the performance hall with a dual indoor-outdoor stage, a dance studio that can be converted to a changing room during theatrical shows by utilizing the mirrored walls. Then the IG music room and the IG art room are towards the right. Next slide, please. This is the interior of the teen loft. The furniture pieces are from Steelcase's collaboration and education lines. This room is only for teens, though the IG Computer Lab gives teens an opportunity to share media and technical knowledge to the elders. Next slide, please. This is the private facilitator deck that can be accessed from their large conference room, their break room, and open office. Their retreat for mental and emotional wellness should be considered as well. So next slide, please.
Wow.
Oh, next slide, please. Thank you. This is the interior of the IG art room with various group and individual seating arrangements. Taking note of the seating nook at the corner, some people may not want to partake in activities, or they're not physically able to do so, but togetherness is something that should be designed for among any activity. Next slide, please. The IG kitchen is modeled after a residential home with a greenhouse to provide a controlled environment for culinary inclusion cooking classes and acts as a barrier to prevent invasive spreading of non-native plants into Tequila. Next slide, please. Just outside of the cafeteria, this is an overall view of the community lawn that integrates both community and IG activities. This way we can engage visitors and this center becomes an amenity for the neighborhood. Next slide, please. And this is the lower entry level. If using the formal entry from the south, a visitor can use the large ramp that meanders through pockets of seating areas and into the community living room that has a small cafe and an IG storytelling area. In purple towards the bottom right is the lower level of the facilitator's offices, so they have direct access to both levels right out of their administration core. Towards the north in red is the senior room, which includes their own outdoor porch and yard. Towards the west, highlighted in pink, is a nurse office that can rest 2 seniors. Next door is a childcare facility with a gated play area and then a basketball court that's open to the public. Next slide, please. This is the view of the courtyard and the basketball court. The IG activities are besides basketball, can be outdoor games that are an extension of the gym, such as bike riding, chalk art, and large outdoor events with tables and chairs. Next slide, please. This is the interior of the community living room. The circulation is a great way to promote spontaneous interaction and passive engagement with people. Next slide, please. Next slide, thank you. I think there's a lag. This is the private senior room. The furniture is taken from the Kualu Senior Livings Collection with swivel. Slide, please. Can you go to the next slide? Thank you. I think my computer is going slow. And lastly, this is the senior porch and yard. Next slide. Thank you. While designing the IG Center, I learned that togetherness is a program. Privacy is important because providing spaces, places for people to retreat will allow everyone to interact at their own pace. We cannot assume the voices of the community, so meeting with them is essential to designing a relevant experience. Creativity and budget are equally important, and it is best to become aware of the impacts IG has on different age groups and backgrounds. So taking time to hear their stories will lead to more meaningful spaces in the design. Next slide, please. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you. Next, my colleague will share his project.
Thank you, Vanessa. Good afternoon. My name is Josh, and I'll be presenting Intersection, which is an accompanying proposal for Tequila's Teen and Older Adult Intergenerational Center. Next slide, please. In order to become a community central point where intergenerational relationship can blossom, the design of Intersection was developed with a few specific goals in mind. First, the architecture in the program has to foster interaction. Next, it has to be inclusive in its design. And lastly, it has to connect to the surrounding community. Next slide. Extensive research identified ways in which the architecture can foster interaction. These interventions include developing spaces that encourage spontaneous interaction, establishing visual connections through the building elements, and creating dedicated space for play and joint activity. We identified the need for differing levels of interaction, ranging from large or small group activity to spaces for individual respite. Next slide, please. And in order to be more inclusive in its design, Intersection contains universally designed circulation, material contrast for those with differing levels of sight, and gender-neutral restrooms. The goal really is that every member of the community feels comfortable in this space. Next slide. In the image in the screen, you can see the exterior view of Intersection. The building is designed to stand out, really celebrating and advertising the intergenerational program to the city. Next slide. Community members will begin their journey through Intersection in this lobby space, which is located in the lower right-hand portion of the site. Next slide. And inside this lobby, interaction is immediately fostered. The lobby is designed to be an intersecting point for all groups entering Intersection, with winding pathways encouraging visual and spontaneous interaction. Next slide. And immediately off of the lobby is a daycare center. Although the city's plan called for the program to serve teens and older adults exclusively, we recommended the inclusion of a daycare center consisting of 4 childcare classrooms, really establishing these intergenerational bonds from an early age. Next slide. And adjacent to the children's daycare rooms is a lounge for older adults. This lounge space serves a dual purpose, really. It provides a reprieve for the more public spaces in the lower levels and creates a visual connection between older adults and kids via floor-to-ceiling windows. Our research indicated that visual interaction between these groups is invaluable in the growth of children and sociability and general happiness of older adults. Next slide, please. To foster cross-cultural exchange among these groups, we provided a central dining space adjacent to a large community kitchen. In this kitchen, we envision older adults perhaps teaching teenagers how to cook. Next slide, please. The cafeteria portion of the part of this building is where these meals can be enjoyed together. The cafeteria provides a central open space with high ceilings and a communal table where interaction can take place. Next slide. Alcoves on the periphery of this central open space provide areas for more intimate or smaller group dining. Next slide, please. From the interior central cafeteria space, our older adults and teens will progress through the ramps to the next level, where the social auditorium and art spaces are located. The art spaces and the accompanying gallery space is an area where teens and older adults can bond while producing art together and show it to the community at large. Next slide, please. The social auditorium is a bright and airy space. This is where the university designed ramps that lead to the second level are intertwined with seating and planters. This space is in essence the living room of the entire center and the community in itself. And within this space are spaces for differing levels of interaction. Group seating and accessible alcoves are located off of the ramps leading to the second floor. Next slide. The second floor contains the gym, computer room, and an IG game room, all spaces providing for planned programmed interaction. Next slide. In this image, we see the IG game room where teens and older adults can bond over games together. It's semi-enclosed, creating intimacy yet visibility. Next slide. A series of, in this slide, we see the library. This is a space where we envision older adults and teens perhaps spending time together in small groups, storytelling happening, tutoring perhaps as well. Next slide. And off of this library are a series of small private rooms, providing for that individuality and moment of respite. Next slide. Lastly, I'll leave you all with some of the lessons learned from this project. The first being the importance of community activation and engagement. As Vanessa mentioned, the program of intersection is based off of the workshops. And this is something that as designers, it really had to be engaged with and provided for. And that really brings us to the next point, which is the importance of research. It's through research that we uncovered how to fulfill these community needs via design solutions. The next lesson is the importance of comfort. Any building, but particularly a community center, needs to be physically and emotionally comforting to the occupants. Only then can meaningful interaction really occur. And lastly, what myself and our entire class really took away from this project was the importance of intergenerational relationships and how they can serve to really create a stronger, more bonded community. And with that, that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
So that's all we had in terms of how we worked with the architectural firm and students and creating, these are examples of what IG centers could possibly be. One important factor that I wanted to share that we're still not sure how to respond to was diversity. Tukwila, as some of you may know, is one of the most diverse cities in the United States. And we really tried to bring in different cultures and different races, but how do we really bring that into the building to make, as Josh was saying, everyone feel comfortable and at home, specifically because this was a community center. It's something that we're still discussing and trying to work towards. So if anyone has any ideas on that, we would really appreciate your thoughts. And then we're here to answer questions if you have any.
Thank you so much. Nancy, do you want to, I think we'll have, that was fascinating. And I don't know if you all will be able to share that PowerPoint or in a PDF so that we can share it with everyone here, because I'd love to like zoom in and look a little bit closer at some of those design elements. It was really a wonderful presentation.
Sure,
So
I will send them to you.
thank you. I'm sorry, so Nancy, let's turn it over to you, and then we'll do the Q&A after Matt's presentation. Oh, you're muted, Nance.
Can you hear me now? Okay, thank you. It was great. That I'm so impressed, and you and I have worked together, but also with your students. So really, I think brought to light some of the really important issues around design. So I hope everyone felt it was as helpful as I did. And I think that Matt's presentation coming may shed light on some of the issues around diversity and animating environments, et cetera. So as Sherry said, we're going to have our questions and answers after Matt. I'm pleased to introduce my good friend, Matt. We've known each other many, many years. And he's a longtime international leader in intergenerational work. He's a professor of intergenerational programs and aging at Penn State. He conducts research and develops a lot of curriculum material, and has been very instrumental in looking at evaluation and development of intergenerational programs. Is a PhD in environmental psychology and has had a lot of great international experiences. He was a visiting fellow at Oxford Institute in England and a senior Fulbright scholar in Japan. And he also has written a lot of books. One of them we actually co-edited many, many years ago in 2002 on Linking Lifetimes, a global view of intergenerational exchange. And we had a lot of time we worked on that. But recently, he's done a very interesting book on intergenerational contact zones, which I think he's going to talk about. And he also worked with Mariano Sanchez and Jaco on international pathways to sustainable society. So Matt is very experienced. He's very generous with his time and his expertise. And I want to thank him again for agreeing to participate in this. Take it away, Matt. You're going to have to share your slides, I guess.
Okay. Can you see that?
Yep.
Good. All right. Well, thank you so much, Nancy, and and thank the architecture group for your presentation. That was wonderful. The image is so instructive, and the process and the research. So look forward to learning more from you. And it's great to see so many of my friends and colleagues. We haven't seen each other in person for a while, but boy, do I miss you all. At any rate, so I don't have a lot of time, so I want to get right to it. We had a lot of leeway as far as how to frame our talks. So I just thought an area, I think in intergenerational design, it doesn't get so much attention sometimes, is focus on actual objects. So the microenvironments, the actual objects in buildings and in parks and so forth, in the context of how they could generate and animate intergenerational engagement. So I started looking at being interested in intergenerational settings as a grad student, late 1980s, doing like intergenerational visioning, community visioning type projects and so forth. And since then, I've been fortunate enough to look at many intergenerational settings in many countries. And it's almost become like a hobby and a way to take vacations and see the world, looking at these different places. So I have images. I'm going to basically go through a lot of these images, and you'll see some themes that come up. Okay, so let's roll. All right, so this is one of my few slides with words on it. I just want to just sort of emphasize right off the bat. I mean, there are two big headwinds that I see that work against creating really intergenerationally rich environments. So one is many people have an affection for clutter-free, barren environments almost, where there's not a lot of stimuli, not a lot of moving parts, and it's hard to see opportunities for intergenerational connection. So that's one kind of headwind that I guess I have an opposing affinity for. And the other one is sometimes there's a confusion between designing multi-generational settings and intergenerational settings. So multi-generational settings even age-friendly, the concept of age-friendly communities, it's just so that people can be welcome in a setting, so they could be there. So it's universal design, so they can be there. Now, the intergenerational theme is really creating ways for people to get to know one another. So here's an intergenerational park, a setting of a park. So we could look at each of these small gathering spots or intergenerational gathering hubs. And we see that there's an intent in the design and in the items in these small clusters for people to engage one another. So even just looking at this sandbox, there's a place for someone who would have a hard time getting into the sand, but yet wanting to be part of the sand play to engage. There's a supported place to sit, get in and out, and get dirty with sand and hang out with the kid. And also, I'd like to think that what we're trying to do is find a way to align when we're designing places, but align it with program, policy, and process. Process being the involvement, participatory process, the involvement of the inhabitants. So the history of the intergenerational field, I mean, it was pretty much people doing programs and activities more in the social sciences and human sciences. And then you have people designing places and different kinds of environments, outdoor and indoor. So we're trying, the best settings, intergenerational settings, as I'll show you, from my opinion, are those that integrate these 4 Ps and a V. Okay, and then here's a multi-generational setting. Just to clarify that distinction a little bit more, there are things to do, passive and active recreation, and it's a nice park, but it's not really designed so people can co-play, play together, explore together. So there's a lot of creativity and play in the mind of the designers that's required. I just want to show this one. This is so I'm going to start going with objects here. A little hub, so I don't know how many of you remember Get Smart. It was a fun TV show for many years, sort of a spoof on a CIA type agency. When they wanted like a real secret conversation, they'd have a big booth come down when nobody could hear. And anyway, I loved it growing up as a kid. But that was the kind of concept, to have a very bounded, spatially bounded place for people coming through Ag Progress Days, which is a real big festival in a family room, multi-generational family members to sit down and talk about the environment, environmental ed for all ages. So they're in the zone. And to get them started, there are these questions and answers and stump each other kind of questions, and a way to have them explain their experience with the environment and really cut the mustard and to get them started, to animate the conversation. So the whole setting speaks of that. And there are images of the environment, families doing stuff all over the place. All right, so these are 3 objects that I found all have great stories. I'll go through these in a minute. That had great potential to facilitate intergenerational engagement. So I guess I have to make this a rhetorical question, but what do you think they have in common? Milk and cookies, a loudspeaker device, and a restraining device from the Middle Ages. Right. What do they have in common? I would call them meaning-packed, intergenerational engagement-inducing objects. So all those objects are deemed meaningful by the participants. There's a shared social meaning dimension as well. And there's a bonding process when they engage with that object, animates engagement. They're getting to know one another. And they're doing it together and hopefully bonding. And also they're social, it's tied in with social context, societal values, policies, and so on. And it stimulates curiosity and exploration. So it's open-ended as far as how people use these objects. Milk and cookies, I found some milk and cookies on the entryway of an assisted living facility I visited in Japan. It was pretty much independent living, and they put these milk and cookies on the piano 10 feet into the walkway of this facility. They opened the doors, and students, instead of having to walk around the building to get to school, they could have a shortcut. They knew they could take a shortcut through this facility. And while they're doing it, the seniors would say, oh, by the way, there are some milk and cookies for you right over there. And the kids would start eating milk and cookies. And while they were doing that, the seniors would kind of descend upon them, sort of like a spider in a spider web, in a kind way though, not to eat the kids. But they started, they left school, they went through it again. And they would hang out, they would talk. You go there and you see it, and they're like pounding each other's shoulders, and getting to know, dance. And it just opened up conversation. Now, the milk and cookies, it's not that they were chocolate chip cookies or raisin cookies. It's not the cookies. It's the meaning of the cookies, okay, and the positioning of them, and the attitudes of the seniors and the values of the facility. They also open their pool to people in the community. This is one of the most powerful examples, I think. St. Anne's Center for Intergenerational Care. They have an infant room. They have all these senior programs, adult day programs, senior center programs, and so forth. It's very hard in these kinds of preschool infant rooms to have enough staff and volunteers. So when you have even like 6 babies, maybe 8, let's say 3 are crying at a time, it's a crisis, right? So they have a system on a loudspeaker that goes through the whole facility. It's an announcement. Crying baby alert, crying baby alert. And people around the whole place, they jump up and actually like elbow each other, I think, at times to get there. And the first people, the number of people with crying babies, they get to hold the babies. So it's no longer an aggravating thing. It's like a gift from heaven for these seniors to be able to be there and connect with these babies and calm them down. I saw a commercial, there were 2 seniors on rocking chairs, and all of a sudden, they called, boom, crying baby alert, and then you see the chair still rocking with nobody in them. A third one, I have a colleague, Tom Quinlan, who's a historical architect in Ireland, Galway. He does a lot of redesign, repurposing of abandoned castles. Now, in America, I believe in many countries, we kind of romanticize castles. So abandoned castles aren't always so romantic in communities because, I mean, any kind of behavior can go there. So they're repurposing it for things like fairs and festivals. So this kind of restraining device, of course, they can't see each other, but it's fun. A kid with his grandfather, gee, wouldn't you like to see what that's like? Why don't we do it together? So it's totally silly, but it ties in with the idea of play and laughing together. It's an option. So we could talk about that all day, but let me keep going. Oh, also it's connecting culture and history. So they're learning about history and they're there to have fun. They know there are interactive items, and then they could appreciate the museum aspect, learning about the culture and history. So there are all sorts of objects that generate curiosity and engagement. In some cases, it could be an animal. It could be a costume for a theater. It could be a memory chest where you have items from residents of an assisted living facility that they take out to share with visiting school children, like they do in the Netherlands. It could be tops and toys that people made as kids. So these also bridge cultures as well. We're talking about intercultural understanding. And the people can share what toys they had, what they made from where they were from. And it helps them bridge the distance between them, physically and socially. Bottom left is an AARP challenge grant that Penn State Extension had to work with Susquehanna Depot. One community, many generations. Did a whole process of community decision-making and so on, planning. And they came up with this one idea for this space that nobody could hang out in, no place to sit down or gather and so forth. And they put AARP on the chairs, which we think is going to help them get another challenge grant because it says AARP. But at any rate, that's beside the point. So these are objects with open-endedness. And the upper right one is from Generations United photography contest in the past. It's basically a parachute and people can dance under it and have fun and so forth. So this open-endedness, it's not like do this, copy this, remember this, but they do it together. and it's open-ended play, which is really ideal for stimulating discovery and brain growth on the part of all participants. Now, sometimes an object could be the key to do an almost impossible thing, like dealing with a wicked problem. In this case, many people in the human sciences know that children, people who have gone through child abuse, I mean, there's a trauma. It's really difficult to deal with, to identify, to get kids to open up, to process, to go through therapy. So one of the seniors in Ann Eccles in State College, Pennsylvania, came up with an idea. She also worked with a rescue beagles program, and came up with the idea to put little history notes on the beagle's collar, saying about the beagle and a little something about them. So this is Molly, age 8. Hi, I'm Molly, age 8. I'm very shy. I'm kind of quiet. I was found in a landfill, and I don't really trust people. So then you have the kids kind of, connecting with Molly because they understand what that's like, what Molly went through, and the seniors there, and they're looking at Molly. It's not like looking at the kid, tell me what happened. How do you feel? So it's a third object to facilitate that engagement. Oh, and games, I love the Stump Your Relative game. I kind of do it almost everywhere. You work with an organization, the youth come up with objects that they don't think older adults would know what they are. And then the older adults come up with objects that they don't think kids will know what they are. And they have like a week to plan, and they make bins of those objects and they stump each other. We do that at Ag Progress Days too. Tons of fun, very simple. We write it up, the steps right here, and we have booklets of this kind of stuff. I think a lot of environments are barren. You go into some settings and it looks like a regular retirement community for only older adults, senior living, where it's supposed to be an intergenerationally happening, enriched setting. So there really should be some cues or messages about what kind of behavior is expected in that. So this is at the facility, multi-service facility in Japan. And at the entryway, you see this image where it's all like in the family. We do things together. We're happy together. So that helps to set a mindset. And this poster I saw at the Intergenerational School. The White Houses, Peter White House, they have this right where you sign in. And I even have it here in my office. It's a beautiful statement. It's an elder's pledge, and it's at least 20 years old, and it's talking about I am older and I'm proud of it. Don't talk down to me. I'm not going to be docile. I'm not going to be trivialized. Very, very powerful words. And when you sign in, everybody looks at this and it stimulates conversation. And a big part of what they do is intergenerational tutoring. The seniors come in and tutor. So at any rate, it's the environment. We don't want sterile environments. And also you could put maps on the environment. Here's a project from 4-generation play maps that Isami Kinoshita, I'm almost done, from Japan did a number of years ago. It turned out his community planning, he's a landscape architect, that people realized there was almost no place for kids to play. So they started saying, was it always like this? How do we get adults to care about it? How do we change this? So they had 4-generation maps. This is from the 1930s, and they have all the way up to the 1980s, I think the program went through. So they study this and they realize, gee, there were so many things for people to do. There were canals and so forth. And then you look at it in 1982, there really is nothing for kids to do other than play in concrete spaces. So that you look at a community center wanting to figure out what to put on walls to stimulate the continuity of life, lifelong learning, lifelong support, and playing together. Those kind of maps would be beautiful rather than just a flower pot, meaning a stimuli, like what's the context of a flower pot or a statue of a dog? So at any rate, there's an intergenerational theme, a lifespan development theme. So we could think about that and gather it. And also talking about culture, I'm really just about done. This is part of a 10-minute great video on Koto-en in Tokyo, which is probably the best shared site I've ever seen. I could talk about it for long, but this 10-minute video talks about the evolution of a friendship between an older adult who didn't know how to relate to kids. He connects with one child over time, gets to know the children, they have a real bonding. And at the end, he kind of passes away. So in a way, it's a tearjerker. However, the bottom right is what I want to draw your attention to. So in Japan, it's not just a living as far as intergenerational relations, but it's also remembrance and respect for ancestors. So this is a Butsudan, I think it's called. And it's a bit of a shrine. And it's a way for this kid to honor the life of the senior. He can go there. Here you see him putting the pudding cup that this gentleman helped him open up. That's how they started their friendship, on the remembrance place. And it's there forever to remember bonding between people and so forth. So it's part of the essence of the environment, of the setting, of this great shared setting, memorialized in this space. And it really is a powerful thing. So in conclusion, it's not just the objects, but it's the intergenerational bonding potential of the objects. So these objects have to have meaning that people care about, opportunities for people to position the objects in relationship enhancing ways. We can't always predict that. And just open-ended play and discovery, and consistent with culture, of course. All right, so I'm gonna end it here and open things up to our facilitators, organizers for conversation. Thank you. Sorry, I went over a couple.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Am I unmuted? Yeah. Fantastic, Matt. I always learn something from you, which is great. And I think both what you did and what Neda, Josh, and Vanessa presented should yield a lot of questions. So why don't we open it up? And let's see, do we have anything in chat right now, Sherry?
Nothing in chat, just
so
commendations on how great our presenters did. So
would you like to just raise your hand if you have a comment on the presentations, if you have a question, if you want clarification. So let's get this started, because this is a great time to really go in depth. Okay, let's both look for hands.
I was going to say, I actually had a question for Josh. You mentioned, what was it? Universal design circulation. And I didn't know, I understand the concepts of universal design, but I didn't know if you could just explain how that looks in a space.
Sure. It involves everything from, what's the word? Specifically in this project, it entailed the vertical circulation. So the way that they entered through the building, it's on a slope. We designed a series of ramps, and universally designed ramps are pretty unique compared to ADA. ADA is much more steep. I think the ratio is 1:12, if I'm not mistaken. And universally designed, it's a much more narrow slope, much less runs, so they don't have to push that far, and they have a lot of more spaces for rest. But it extends far beyond that to everything from floor treatments. You don't want to have too much of a difference in height ever, because that could be a tripping hazard, to the location of your handles at doors. It's a pretty broad term. Once you start exploring it, there's a lot to it. Neda is very familiar with that, and she's introduced us to that concept, because it really does go far beyond the requirements.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it takes up more space too. That's one of the problems we had with the ramps. Yeah. Mm. So designing around that was really important in the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, and also, a big conceptual point of that is that you want the circulation space, the way that someone moves through a building, you don't want to separate people. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes what you have is an ADA, compliance ramp, but it segregates, people who might have differing, levels of ability. And what we aim to do is to create, one common universal process through which they enter the building and enjoyed it together.
Great. Okay, I see something from Sandra about what groups she suggests reaching out to in the community to promote intergenerational settings. Who would like to address that? Matt or Neda or Josh or Vanessa?
I think I saw Matt.
I could start. Well, I think that really is a crucial question. So I like to give the advice or the suggestion of think of your place without walls. So for instance, if it's a dementia-friendly facility or a hospice, so think about it as a hospice without walls. So that would mean that there are some fluid boundaries, real boundaries for privacy and so forth, but fluid entry points between the community, which includes families that want to visit and engage, and school students as well, and the facility itself. And people want to get out of the building as well. So I think multiple partners, there are lots of groups that want to be involved with the residents of, let's say, retirement community, a CCRC, let's say, some of you run, just to facilitate that engagement. You want to have multiple partners. So those who want to do studies, those who want to do service with youth or mentorship type programs, there's so many youth organizations, magistrate related based as well. They really need mentors. So how do you facilitate that bridge? And then others want to do gardening. There are master gardening type programs. So I think it's important to just be really open about partnerships that can enrich the quality of life, not only for the residents, but for the community as well.
Thanks, Matt. Go ahead.
Somebody asked about the 4 Ps. One of them is partnerships.
Right.
Partnerships, that's what I'm talking about.
Right.
Many partnerships. Okay.
Right.
And it's also process and policy.
I just wanted to add that there's in the Sharing Our Space toolkit, there's a lot about building community partnerships and what you have to do to assess your own organization, how you need to assess the community, who you might go to talk to, because whatever your vision is going to impact which groups become involved. And it evolves over time. So I agree with Matt. Start at the top of the funnel and see who might be interested in this. If you're already a retirement center, that's one pathway. But if you're thinking about how to make a park intergenerational, there may be many, many partners who have a vested interest in getting involved in activities in the park. So the community partnerships is incredibly important. What else? Do we have any other hands up? I have a question.
Hi, this is Christine from
Okay, Christine.
I just had a couple of comments. One, just that I love the designs by the students and the way they took all of the aspects of intergenerational living and multi-generational living into their thoughts as they designed it. And the second thing that I just wanted to comment on was Matt's dichotomy between like the life and death cycle. Teaching young people about the life cycle and generational living in general, and also teaching children and keeping adults young by interacting with young people all the time. So I thought those were really interesting points.
Thanks.
Question for go ahead. I'll let you go first. Karen.
Okay. I had just kind of a comment. We're going from running an intergenerational group home to working on building a neighborhood that has day programs for seniors and kids, and also tons of community volunteer opportunities, and then intergenerational events that we do here, all of which we've done on a small scale in our current setting. But one of the things about looking at how do we handle diversity, which we're really hoping for in our housing, and one of the things we have planned is really around storytelling for anyone interested in living in the housing. We're going to have classes that everybody will take. And part of what we hope to explore in there is just to have people share their stories. Teach this intergenerationally so people can get to know each other on kind of a deeper level from the get-go. And then look at how we hope to have we will have an internal time bank for the neighbors that are independent seniors and for the young families that move in. And this time bank, you can ask for help, and you also will be required to give a certain amount of time every week, 6 hours a week per household, to kind of force the point of interacting, but also to make sure we're building equity and helping our neighbors. And hopefully mentoring and things like that will come out of it. And there will be some formal programs as well, but we really just hope to start with storytelling and see where that takes us with that. So I just wanted to add that.
That sounds great, Karen. No, that sounds great. And storytelling is really important. Anything that's going to help people disclose about themselves, find commonalities, acknowledge differences, et cetera. I don't know if you're doing virtual or in-person storytelling at this point. I'm not sure where you are, but there also, you can contact us. There are resources. People have been doing some really interesting virtual storytelling in Michigan, and we can give you some resources about that. But I think it's great. And the time bank is, does everyone know what a time bank is? Basically, it's when you contribute your time and you can get resource. You can either contribute time and do chores and get resources back. And but that's a great strategy for, again, building reciprocity. Because I think one of the things that's so core to this is the values of reciprocity and interdependence that we really, especially in a neighborhood, we want to build on people's strengths and see what they can offer as well as what they need.
And I just wanted to add, I think, the fact that you're collecting the stories, there's a lot that you can do with stories to animate your environment. A program I worked with in Seattle, they actually did a storytelling program, and then it was between a senior living community, a senior housing, and then a school was right next door, and there was a retaining wall, and they used that to do a mural of the intergenerational story. So they really kind of created this bridge through art for them. So I think that's sort of that opportunity that you're doing it. They're sort of like, once you have them, what do you want to do with them? I mean, I think there's also, they build relationship, but then there's lots of ways that people engage and animate with that.
Very nice.
Danica.
I just have a question for Josh and Vanessa. I'm just curious about what role did location and climate play in the development of your centers? I'm just thinking, was it more urban? And obviously, having all that outdoor space requires a more temperate climate, which I think maybe some people in Madison, Wisconsin, for example, might not be able to have. So I'm just curious about what role the environment and also suburban versus urban, city versus rural, what that played in developing these centers.
Well, we have 2 different sites, so we'll have 2 different answers for you. My site was reclaiming a parking lot, an unused parking lot. It was immediately next to an apartment complex. And it was significantly smaller, so a lot of the program, keeping in mind too the weather of the region, had to be more internal. And there was a park across the street that we kind of built a relationship with through the design. But it's hugely important, especially in regards to what's inside, what's outside, what we can do, and attention to light, especially in Seattle, how we can create these kind of bright, inviting spaces. Vanessa, if you want.
Yeah, and from my side, they had a very large lot. It was probably the largest site they offered or that they were looking at, and it was within a residential area. And after reading the meeting notes and saying that they wanted to be comfortable, they wanted to feel like home, I felt like, okay, well, the design I'm already thinking about, how can this be more comfortable at that human scale, could probably go into a neighborhood, and also that way is more pedestrian safe. And the site I claimed was the Star Nursery site, and so since there was already a lot of vegetation there's a lot of spaces where I could have a community lawn and serve more, square footage for outdoor activities as well.
Great. I have another question for you too, and maybe Neda too, about the impact of COVID. How much did you think about that as you were designing, knowing that there may be times when people can't be together? I noticed that one of the places had a lot of, the teen center, I think, had a lot of walls that were glass. And I'm just wondering, we may be ending Omicron, but I don't know if we're going to never see a pandemic again. And so how much did you think about that? And what advice would you have for people who are thinking about, developing something now and want to make sure that they're paying attention to this issue?
Go ahead.
And I'll tack on later.
So I think one of the main things we thought about throughout the design process was to create togetherness, but allow for separation if and when is needed. And I think that's part of the reason, part of Josh's design had like that universal design circulation, right? So then people could accidentally bump into each other and talk and have conversations. But then there were specific locations that were designated to different generations. So then if we need to have it closed down and we need to have people coming from different entrances, that would be possible as well. And then, I don't know, Vanessa can tell you about the glass wall, so I let her talk about that.
Do you mean the glass walls in my teen loft?
Yeah.
Well, that was mainly because there's like a double volume, and towards the west there was large windows that brought in more light. That's one of the reasons why I made those large glass walls there. But it also has like a visual connection, and it creates like a larger space, I guess, visually to be together. And there was unique opportunities there to just kind of make the room feel more like involved with other activities. There's a lot going on around you. It's not just stagnant white, four walls and you're in your own space, So that was the reason. COVID in mind, I took that more generally for like under disaster relief and people who need the maybe food. And so I developed like this food pantry in this community resilience storage area. Also, the cafeteria can hold 300 people. So it's a lot of space for people to kind of gather if they need to, but there are a lot of exits and places and rooms you could separate. So
Oh, that's great. I mean, I like the glass because I think for instance, an adult daycare and child care center, if you have a wall between them and you can't connect, you're not going to be able to see them. But if you have glass, like you had in the teen thing, people can at least have a visual connection that they wouldn't have otherwise. So again, it's kind of something to take with you. What else? Let's see. Any other questions? And think about, like, what are some of the challenges that you see? Because you have all these experts here. There's a perfect time to ask the experts, if you think there's going to be a problem or you think there's going to be a challenge, what would they do or what advice would they give? Okay, I see Katie with a hand. Okay, Katie. Are you coming on? Unmute. Frozen? No, that's not her. Okay, anybody have a challenge?
While we're waiting for the next thought, I just want to comment a little bit about storytelling. So storytelling is an activity. We tend to think of it as an activity, but how do we design a storytelling space? And that's a nice challenge. That's a nice design challenge. One of the principles, I don't think we talked about so much so far. I talked about like moving parts, but flexibility. There needs to be flexibility because the people who use these spaces are growing, literally and figuratively. So, and they're going to have different needs. So what might be a storytelling concept or program geared with young children, where they're sitting on a lap and you're reading picture books, showing together, to a child getting older and actually wanting to read or co-read. And then as somebody gets older, maybe like an adolescent, actually writing stories or acting stories out. So developmentally, we're talking about lifespan development. So how can the space be designed to I guess, accept and support and encourage these kinds of advanced, from beginner to advanced story appreciation?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. The other thing, Matt, I was thinking about, you can combine storytelling with some of your object issues. And years ago, we had people bring in objects that were important to them. There were two different cultural groups, and they brought in these objects and they told stories about them. And then they created kind of a museum of stories and objects. So all of these things you can just combine and think about, how do you enrich whatever you're going to do, or create theater pieces from, you know, the stories, or booklets, or whatever. So storytelling is incredibly important, because again, the key here is connection. And Matt and I talk about this all the time. Shared sites aren't just about people in a place. It really is about the relationships that are formed. And so when you make decisions about design or about programming or policies, thinking about how do we intentionally, proactively foster those across age and maybe cross-cultural relationships.
Nancy, may I share something very quick? I'm gonna, just in terms of COVID, and I think in general, flexibility that Matt was just speaking of, I'm gonna share this slide and I'll put the link on in the chat. But HKS is an architectural firm that kind of talks about flexibility and ways that we can design to offer different possibilities. And I think this would, they specifically had this for healthcare facilities because that's their specialty, but I think it's something that we can really use for IG centers as well. So just in case if anyone is interested.
Great, thank you. A few more minutes for questions. We really want, again, this is a network, so we want you to ask each other questions. And if anyone else has something to share from their shared site that would be of interest here, we welcome that. Do we have any other?
Oh, go ahead, Matt.
I was going to say about getting stories out of anything. I mean, I'm talking about like some intergenerational gardening.
And Judith, I did want to welcome you. You weren't here at the very beginning. Do you want to introduce?
Sorry, Nancy, there's a delay. Matt was talking. I think there's.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you, Matt.
Yeah.
Or just briefly. So telling stories, let's say in the garden, I mean, and about what people care about and have in common, like development, talking about how flowers go, the cycle of life. So you could have talk about a worm. You know, some worms, they go into a chrysalis. Right? Oh, wait, I shouldn't get into
Showing off, Matt.
But then they become a worm eventually. So it's a process of growth and aging and healthy aging. So it's a way to get those stories out in gardening. So some people, they think gardening, well, what tasks do we do? Go do it. This is the physical environment. But like Nancy's saying, we want to really get people to engage through story and through learning about lifespan development of each other's assets and ways that they could contribute to their lives. So I think there's a lot. It's open-ended and it's a wonderful kind of challenge to design spaces. That's like a 7 on the scale of intergenerational depth of engagement. We used to just do one activity, but you guys are creating settings to make real deeper connections. So I love all that you're doing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Question about intergenerational libraries in particular. And within a senior care setting, and also with infants through senior care, potentially in the same space, as well as college students, with how you design for accessibility and interaction, and even in terms of the actual objects with us as, you know, as seniors age, and within materials themselves, whether that's large print, with what children might need in that space, with how you are essentially, you know, developing spaces for such a wide age range. How are you maintaining that over time and really getting everybody's needs met in a meaningful way?
And does anyone want to respond to that, Anne? Or just agree?
Well, if anybody happens to be in Pennsylvania on July 5th to 7th, in the middle of Pennsylvania, we're going to have a whole session on intergenerational placemaking by experts at designing libraries for intergenerational engagement, July 7th. I could put the URL for the conference and it's going to be focused on Pennsylvania, but
Excellent.
yeah, really welcoming people and those, we just talked about it earlier, this kind of thing. So thanks for mentioning libraries, because that's a key cultural institution.
And I meant to say that, Matt, about your thing. So sorry, that's great. I saw that Sue had her hand up at some point. Now I don't see where she is. Are you?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, I see you. Now I see you. Okay. A little yellow hand up.
I mean, I'm just fascinated by all of this. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about a real issue we've had in planning our intergenerational provision, which will open in May, was around early years and childcare in the UK. We're very keen on segregating our age groups, even within a preschool group. So we have a baby room and a toddler room and a preschool room. So it's kind of segregation rather than integration. And the big debate we had was about the baby room, because traditionally that would have cots and be set up to be for baby sleeping. And then we suddenly realized that older people like to sleep as well. So we've got rid of the cots completely and started to think about sleep environments or dozing environments. And we've completely reshaped, we've even renamed it to be our kind of, not a rest room, but even, you know, a comfy, cozy dozing room. And that's completely changed our view about sleep, because we're constantly thinking, what activities can we do together? Well, sleep is an activity, and we're planning for sleep, really. And I find that really fascinating. So I'm the first in that room. I'm going to go for a doze. But, you know, we've got no cots. We've just got little coracles for babies to crawl in and out of, and seating for old people to be able to just have a little doze in. So that's been fascinating.
I think that's great. And as one who loves to nap, I think, and you know, those little power naps, I think it's perfect. Great. Thank you for sharing. Bella.
Oh, hi. Yeah, that was really, thank you, Matt. And thank you everyone for the presentations, Vanessa and Josh as well. I just wanted to share that in Scotland at the moment, I've just made a short video for the libraries across Scotland.
Great.
They are involving themselves in a heritage project for every library in Scotland to pick a local heritage to bring young and older people together to speak about, you know, sort of cultural heritage traditions in their local area. So we're really looking forward to seeing what comes out of that in the 32 libraries in Scotland across local authorities. And Matt's right, the libraries are places of learning. And if we're looking at lifelong learning and intergenerational learning and being together, the libraries are brilliant places to be a space to bring the generations together. And I haven't got into fill in about our shared sites yet. There's a few that are being worked upon, and some at design stage. And once I have more information, I may invite someone along to speak about a swimming pool in Scotland that's being converted into an intergenerational shared space. But at the moment, it's just in, they built the designs for it, but they're now looking for the funding to get that done. So I just thought I'd share that.
That's great. And we'd love to see a video too, because I think libraries are in every community and they really are gathering places. So they're a perfect natural intergenerational setting. They might be multi-generational right now. So, you know, again, taking that next step that Matt mentioned about making sure that they're intergenerational and promoting interaction. Sherry, I think we're just about ready for the closing section.
Yeah,
We're doing really well. So thank you all. That was really good. I hope that was helpful. And thank you, presenters. You're terrific.
Yeah, so, and we kind of had moved a little bit into an announcements. We wanted to make sure that there was at least a minute or two. So if folks had links they wanted to share or resources that they're developing, please put them in chat. You know, we know that, you know, we only know so much, and we would really love to, you know, Matt shared his conference that are coming up. If there's other events or other information that people think would be helpful, to go ahead and drop that in the chat. I did just want to add that we are embarking on a much larger promotional effort around our toolkit. So we'll be developing some promotional materials, and we'd love to share them with you and encourage sharing those with your networks. We really just want to get this tool out to folks that might be interested in the different stages of building sites or strengthening relationships or exploring how to market or whatever it might be. You know, Nancy spent a lot of time, and a lot of you all did too, helping us develop this. So we want to make sure that it gets into the hands of people who need it. Danica, do you want to? We also like lots of things are happening at Generations United that we wanted to make sure that we're sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Sherry. So right now, GU is embarking on an overhaul of how we evaluate our IG programming, particularly our programs of distinction, which if you haven't heard of, it's an accreditation that we offer for, quality intergenerational programs that go above and beyond. And right now we want to make the process process and the distinction more diverse, more inclusive of different programming and different communities. So we are currently in the process of offering a survey to gather information about all kinds of intergenerational programs from around the country, to learn more about their demographics and also what challenges they're facing. And I should note that this survey is not only just for existing intergenerational programs. We also welcome responses from people who are hoping to start an intergenerational program or a shared site, so that we can learn a little bit more about challenges that you are facing, or what GU could do to support the development of these of intergenerational programs. The survey it's quite short. It only takes 15 minutes at most. And we would welcome all of you to take it if you haven't already. I know there are several people on this call who already have, and we're so grateful, but we would encourage everybody to take this survey and to share it with your networks and to share it with everybody you know. We want to get as many responses as possible to get the widest sample size as possible. So I will make sure to share that in chat, and I'm sure we can include the link to the survey in the follow-up email to this call, so that everybody gets a chance to look at it. Again, it's 15 minutes. As an added bonus, if you complete a response by May 1st, you will be entered to win a $100 Amazon gift card. I know that you all love being part of IG, sharing information, so you wouldn't even need the gift card, but that is an added bonus if that interests you. So yeah, I will make sure to share the chat. We'll add it in the follow-up email, and I encourage everybody to take it and to share it. We can't wait to hear from all of you about your challenges and your needs and what you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you. So what we will also, that's sort of a separate survey. We will be sending out to this group a survey about this network, just finding out what's useful, what additional elements we could be adding. You'll receive that, and we'd love feedback. We've talked about whether there's interest in a newsletter, if there's interested in other peer networking, or what some of those other areas might be of engagement in addition to these meetings, as well as future topics for these meetings. Like, where are we, do we need to dig deeper into design elements, or are there funding, marketing? What are some of the other challenges or opportunities that we could face? So we'll be sending that out. Matt mentioned the Kotean site in Japan. We've been in talks with folks in Singapore and Japan about trying to highlight some of the great work that's happening there. The time of this meeting obviously never works for them. So we're looking at planning something. It would be something additional. So I mentioned this the last time we met, but it is something that's still in the works, and we'll send out something around that. And like always, we'll record them, so we'd be able to, share with folks. So we're right now looking for our next meeting to be in April. So we will get your information out about this meeting, and then saving the dates for next meeting as soon as possible. And then we are going to leave this open for about 15 minutes, or as long if folks who need to hop off can hop off. But if there's questions or discussion, or people have ideas right now that they want to share with us, we'll be here and happy to get them. So I want to thank our speakers again, Matt, Neda, Vanessa, and Josh. The presentations were just phenomenal. really exciting to see and learn. And I just always love hearing you all talk about the work, and especially hearing the students and seeing the designs that you came up with, which really were amazing. So looking forward to your careers as architects and hopefully designers of some intergenerational opportunities in what you work with. So yeah, so thank you all, and we will see you next time.
Thank you all. Take care.
Okay, don't be a stranger.
Right. So we'll hang around for a little while if anyone wants to talk about their specific shared site.
And go to Central Pennsylvania in July. We can all meet up there.
The cream